Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. It's also competition or game show night, which we did last night on the Hudson Valley Squares. We're doing the exact same topic here tonight. Before we start talking more about that, let me introduce everybody. We've got, I'll start down the bottom here. We got Eric Porter wearing his terrific Kick the Cat shirt. We got Stephen Reed, Chuck Alvarez, Mets, let's go Mets. Killer Songs, No Softies, George LeMay, and the Professor of Prague from the Laser's Edge. We've got Ken Golden. Oh, look at that Sea of Tranquility hoodie down there. All right, very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. All right, guys, you ready to play Guess the Band We Haven't Seen?
Yep. Yes.
See if we can have a non-tie tonight, because of course Bryce and I tied for first place on the Hudson Valley Squares last night. We had Ryan Scow got 0 points. So hopefully everybody gets some points tonight, and we'll see who wins this thing. We've got, there's 6 of us here live on the panel. Chad couldn't make it tonight, but he did give his picks. He is going to let me know what his, what the band is that he has not seen, probably about a half hour from now. So and he's sending me that via text. So I'm not going to look at that until we're ready to divulge his answer at the end, but we will get, it's almost like we get a freebie here. So we get the one extra person who's not here, but we do get to pick from his list. So what we're going to do is, this will be the order that we're going to go, and I'm going to give mine first. Everybody's going to give their picks. They're going to, after they've given them, here on camera, I'm going to put up the picks on a little slideshow. All right, then we'll take it off and we'll let everybody go through all their picks. And then at the end, we'll have everybody let us know who they think each person, which is the band they haven't seen. And then that person will reveal, and we'll see who got them right, and we'll add up the points and blah, 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 blah. So we're going to go myself, George, Ken, Eric, Stephen, Chuck, and then Chad. And then we'll do the whole reveal at the end. So, all right. So let me read mine.
You like Chuck Woolery tonight.
Chuck Woolery? Do I? Is that a compliment, Ken?
Yeah, it is.
Cool. All right. So let me do mine. So here's my 10. Okay. So the Flower Kings at the New Jersey Prog House. I don't even remember what town that's in, but cool little venue. This was probably like in the early 2000s. Next up, the Neil Morse Band in Albany, New York, earlier this year. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Jones Beach in the early, or maybe late 90s, early 2000s with Deep Purple and Dream Theater. Genesis at Giant Stadium. The Dixie Dregs at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York. Steps Ahead Fusion Band at the Paramount in Huntington, Long Island. Planet X, Derek Sherinian and crew at Nearfest. Brand X at the Town Crier here in Beacon, New York, a couple towns over. Magic Pie at Rosfest. And last but not least, Renaissance at the Egg in Albany, New York. So let me share my screen so everybody can take a look at. All right, hold on. Get my tech going here. Bear with me, everybody. There we go.
Tension.
There we go. Do 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 do. Let me know if you need more time. George looks perplexed.
Could have seen all these bands. I'm good, I guess.
I might have seen all these bands. Who needs more time?
Much easier when I didn't have to guess last night.
Last night didn't count for you, right? Everybody's all set?
Yes, we are.
All right, cool. We'll stop the screen share. All right. George.
All right. I got The Aristocrats, 2011 at Martyrs. Packed house. As packed as I've ever seen Martyrs, actually. Brand X at the now defunct China Club in 1992. Excommunication tour. Billy Cobham in 1994 at Jazz Buffet was a trio gig. I actually went to see, supposed to be Jeff Berlin was the bass player. He didn't show up. We got Kai Eckhart. Good. Alan Holdsworth, 2012 at Martyrs. Not a good show. Holdsworth and Virgil Donati was on drums, and both of those guys look miserable when they play. Not the best show. Kansas, 2000 at Taste of Chicago, which is the big outdoor summer thing here downtown. Honestly, I went because it was free, as all those things are, but they were on like a classics tour. They just did 2 tunes from somewhere elsewhere, and then the rest was all the good shit. Alex McCoshik, 2010 in North Carolina at the New Universe Festival. Jeff Sipe on drums. Trio gig, that was good. Ohm, twice in the mid 2000s, once with Frank Gambale Trio and once with Humphreys McGee. And after they both played, they did an Omfrey jam, which honestly I walked out on. Too much of a good thing. They just kept going and going and going. Spock's Beard, 2000 at the Riviera Theater. Honestly, I'd never heard of them before that, going to that, but a friend of mine was pushing me. You got to go, you got to go. It'd be a good place to check them out. So I went and checked them out. Don't remember anything from the show. Lenny White, 2010, also in North Carolina at the New Universe Festival. Double guitars, Tom Guarna and Jimmy Herring. So that was good. And the last one is Yes, 1991 on the Union Tour in the Round. Good show. I didn't have the greatest seats. I was in the balcony, but it is what it is. That's mine.
All right, let me share the screen here.
I just say that the cast of this show has never looked quite so thoughtful ever before.
Oh, man, this is hard.
Well, it's hard because everything's so plausible.
Yes. All right.
I am confident of going over tonight.
Who needs more time?
I'm good.
I'm done.
Everybody good? Okay.
Yep.
All right, Ken.
Have Andy Summers. I saw Andy Summers played in Hoboken with he had Chad Wackerman and Dougie Lunn on bass. I recorded that show, but I fucked up the recording, so I don't have that anymore. Panzer Ballet, saw them at the New Jersey Prog House in 2013 with Consider the Source opening. Fates Warning at the Trocadero in Philly, that was 97 with Divine Regal. Griffin, however you want to pronounce it. I saw them in London, 1977. My folks sent me over with my sister to, it was kind of a graduation present. Got to see him on the Treason tour. I didn't know anything about him, but I knew they had opened for Yes in the US, so what the fuck. 3 with Keith Emerson at Frank Cariola's Sundance out in Suffolk. It was, they booked a black rap comedy duo opening, and those guys never got to speak a word. They just got pelted with shot glasses and ice, and it was brutal. Shadowfax, I saw them a number of times. Saw them at the Lone Star Cafe with Don Cherry coming out to play with them. Saw them play at the Academy of Music in Philly with a Moments Dance Company. Bill Bruford and Patrick Moraz, I saw them at the Bottom Line play acoustic in '83, and then in '85 I saw them play electric. I think that was with like the Jeff Lorber opening up. I think that was Jeff Lorber. I'm not sure. Somnambulist, and this is a weird one because I can't remember when it was, but Somnambulist played at Orion in Baltimore. It was like the only time they ever played. I saw the Grateful Dead in Philly in 1984. I saw them again, I think in '86, and that was the only time I ever ate mushrooms. The only time I had shrooms. And David Arkenstone in 1991 at the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood Cliff, New Jersey. They had all the old lady ushers, female ushers, then like dressed as like fairies and elves and stuff. It was pretty weird, but that's what I got.
All right. Get your list up. All right.
So if I guess I get my own wrong, embarrassing.
Another tough one. Ken, what year was the Bruford Moraz again?
Look at my notes. Can you shrink the window? Bruford Moraz was '83 and '85.
Okay.
Acoustic at the Bottom Line, and then at Town Hall, that was when they playing electric. That was annoying because Bruford was playing the electric drum kit. I hated that thing.
Anybody need more time?
Good.
Nope. Okay. All right. Up next is Eric.
All right. I saw Emerson, Lake and Powell at Glens Falls Civic Center in September of '86. I think that was actually my first prog show or band that you would consider prog. Marillion, I saw on the Fear Tour. Me and a buddy took a road trip to the Keswick. I want to say 4.5 hours for us, stayed over. Hadn't seen them in years. I hadn't seen them since Season's End tour, I believe. But worth the trip, definitely worth the road trip. Dream Theater at the Washington Avenue Armory, a horrible sounding venue. But I had never seen Dream Theater. I had some questions about, I should like these guys. Maybe they're a little too metal for me. But being in my backyard, I had to give them a shot. And actually, it was a great show, just a horrible sounding venue. Jean-Luc Ponty, I saw in 2018 at the Egg, my favorite venue. Pete's also familiar with that one. We've become concert buddies, so trying to keep him posted on everything that comes through there. I'd never seen Ponty before that, and you never know when the last chance is going to be. So, Genesis on the Turn It On Again tour, kind of the same thing. I didn't know much about Genesis in their prime, so I had never seen them, and I'm like, I've got to go once. I have to see them. So, and that was at what was then the Times Union Center. I think now it's the MVP Arena or something. Those places change names constantly. Brand X, this last run before the passing of John Goodsall, they played my area constantly. They've been at the Egg. I saw them at the Cohoes Music Center a couple times. But they always, I even had tickets at when John passed, which, obviously a bummer, but I had tickets to see them on that last run. And then he was hospitalized and unfortunately passed away. Opeth, I saw them at the Upstate Concert Hall in Clifton Park, 2013. Again, another band that I think I just had gotten, Watershed, didn't care for the death metal stuff, but again, a band I felt I definitely need to see these guys, and who knows when they'll be back around. Dixie Dregs, that was a dream show for me. 2018 at the Egg. I forget what that was called, their reunion, Dawn of the Dregs. I forget what the tour was called, but fantastic to get a shot to see that band. Al Di Meola, also at the Egg 2018, and Brand X opened that show. And I believe my last one, that was 9, Porcupine Tree, again at the Egg, Fear of a Blank Planet 2007.
Cool. All right, let me get that up on the screen for everybody. There we go. Anybody need more time?
I'm good.
Good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not good, but I don't need any more time. I'm confident I've got nothing to stop.
Yeah, I feel like I've got nothing right so far.
Me too.
This is tougher than last night, I think.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
Stephen, you're up.
Okay, so my first one is Terry Bozio, who did a drum clinic in a side room in the Perth Station Hotel, which that shouldn't have been a thing. The highlight of the show was probably standing behind the kit before the gig because it was bigger than my house. Second one is Gaspacho, who I'd never heard of until they opened for Marillion in 2005 in the ABC in Glasgow. They're probably the best match in terms of support act that I've seen open for that band. They just musically clicked. It made for an excellent night. Number 3 is Mastodon. They opened for Tool at the Exhibition Centre in Glasgow in 2006, which was just a stupidly good double bill. And I then saw them again headline at the ABC in Glasgow. All of these are in Glasgow just about, in 2007. I say that. Number 4, Kingfisher Sky. First time I'd heard of the band, 2011 at the Fused Festival in Lydney Town Hall in the Forest of Dean, which is a beautiful place. And the other 2 days were headlined by Vanden Plat and Threshold, which was really the reason that I'd gone. Arguably, Kingfisher Sky stole the whole thing. Long Distance Calling, another odd triple bill. They played with Solstifer and SAG in Ivory Blacks in Glasgow, which is about the size of my shoe. Solstifer probably were the best band on the night, but Long Distance Calling were good. Steve Hogarth doing his H Natural shows. He does pre-Christmas gigs where he plays piano and sings unaccompanied. Beyond that, he does some Marillion numbers and some kind of covers, random covers. You never know what you're going to get. And oddly, the audience are invited, if they wish, to bring along Christmas decorations. And you can dress the tree while Steve plays on stage. And sometimes somebody brings a drink and puts it down on his piano and scares the shit out of him because he forgets it's happening. Okay. Mike and the Mechanics in 2014, Perth again, actually, in the Horse Cross, which is the concert hall. This was the reformed version of the band with Roachford and Tim Hauer on vocals. Not my favourite Genesis side project, but they were good fun. And watching the grannies drooling over Roachford was interesting. The Von Herzen brothers, who rather bizarrely were in the middle of a 3-band bill with the Wild Hearts. The opening band was called Hey Hello, which featured a Ginger Wildheart. So he opened the show and closed the show. And the Von Herzen brothers should not have been on that bill, but they went down the storm. They were absolutely phenomenal. Number 9, Moon Safari, who played a double headline tour. Well, they said it was a UK tour with Lazuli. I had to go to the sound control in Manchester and meet up with a couple of very good friends that lived down that way, and I stayed over with one of them. Both bands were excellent, but Moon Safari probably edged it. And my last one is Orc. Okay, so they played in St. Luke's in Glasgow, which is a beautiful converted church. Only time I've ever been in that venue. The headline act was the Pineapple Thief. It was the perfect venue for them. But Orc opened, and that's the Colin Edwin and Pat Mastalotto kind of led band. I like the recorded output, don't love it, live. Oh, wow, that was something special.
All right. Everybody stumped?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Anyone need more time?
I'm good.
No, good, good. All right. Chuck.
All right. And, Steve Hackett. I saw Steve Hackett at the PlayStation Theater in New York City. What's that? I saw him. What's that? I also saw him. What's that? What's it in New Jersey at the NYJ Pack. I saw Marillion at the PlayStation Theater. What's it in? What's it? Touring for their Fear album. So Genesis. What's it at? Last time I saw them was in MSG in 2007. The Flower Kings. I saw them twice playing at what's it, at the Bottom Line both times. What's it? The Porcupine Tree. I saw them at Terminal 5 in 2009. Which I also saw Spock's Beard at BB King's, which I happened to see them quite a few times with Neil Morse. Once with Neil Morse and the other 5 times with Nick DiVirgilio. I saw Return to Forever at the United Theater, which was the last concert of that tour in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Which a Van de Graaff Generator. Saw them here in New York City at the Society of Ethical Culture. Also saw Crack the Sky at the Loft in 2019, which I put on one of the best shows that I've seen from a band, a pretty good band. Saw Bill Bruford twice. The last time I saw him was at BB King's, which are in tour with Earthworks, and they did a fantastic job. And those are my 10.
All right.
All right.
Get that up on the screen. Anybody need more time with Chuck's list?
Nope.
All right.
No.
Let's move on to Chad's. I'll read Chad's and I'll have it up on the screen as well. Chad gave a whole dissertation on each one. So Asia, okay. Aquator, Mastodon, Dixie Dregs, when they opened up for Dream Theater. Peter Gabriel on his last tour, Back to Front. Arena at one of the early Rozfest festivals. Opeth, doesn't say exactly when, but Pale Communion, I guess must be some fairly recently. Saga, went to Montreal. Alan Parsons Project. And of course, the rest are cut off and I can't figure out how to, let me go, bear with me guys. I will try and get that. Number 9 is Rick Wakeman. A small show he played with Adam Wakeman. And Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the Black Moon tour.
Can you put up the first 8 again, please?
Yeah, bear with me a second. Let me go back to slideshow. I'll leave it like this for now, so you can see it all.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Oh man. Anybody need more time on this?
I'm
Good.
good.
Okay.
I Are we able to ask questions of, ask questions? No.
Cheater.
Ken does not want to lose this.
Can we refuse not to answer the question?
I'll answer any question you want.
All right.
Could be an interesting twist. Okay.
All right, so we'll start from the top. All right, so for mine, I'm just going to go down. Ken, what do you think mine was?
I think you did not see the Flower Kings.
Chuck,
Magic Pie.
George,
I also have Flower Kings.
Stephen,
ELP.
Eric.
Flower Kings.
You all got it wrong. Brand X.
Ah.
Never saw Brand X.
You never,
Very
Pete,
near.
they came around like
A million
8
times. Every time they came around, I had something else going on. They played literally like 15 minutes away in Beacon, and I was ready to go, and something else came up, and I didn't go.
Wow.
And then he died, and that was it. So yeah, never got to see them.
You know what the dumb thing about my saying the Flower Kings? I think I was at that show.
You were at that show.
Was that?
You and I were backstage talking to Thomas Bowden.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I didn't think you liked him enough to go to another state to see him. I don't know.
No, it was only an hour away or so. Yeah. Then I saw them at Near Fest. They played at Near Fest too. So yeah. Yeah, all the other bands I've seen, at least, more than once or whatever. So yeah. What other ones did you guys pick? Who else picked
I picked Magic Pie.
Magic Pie? Yep, I saw them at Rosfest. And
ELP I went for.
yeah, ELP, I was at that show in Long Island. Yeah, that was a great show. The only time I ever saw ELP.
We've just
That's a
done
good triple bill too.
It was
Would
really
you
good.
say
show.
Dream Theater and
Deep
Is that what
Purple
Deep-
and
Deep
Deep Purple.
Purple,
Deep Purple? Wow.
We just did
Philly
that
show
many
got
gigs.
canceled.
Yeah, what-
I went to the Philly show and something happened. I don't remember what it was with Dream Theater or something happened and they canceled the whole thing.
Wow, yeah, it was a good show. Good
We
show.
did that many gig shows on the UK Connection that I just don't remember you mentioning that. And it feels memorable.
So right away, we're all in the schneid.
Yeah.
Zip, no points, no points. All right, so George, we'll do George's now. So Eric, what's your pick for George?
He sold this, but for some reason, I can't believe he would have gone to see Spock's Beard. So that's mine.
Stephen,
Home.
Chuck,
Foxbeard.
Ken,
This is tough. I'm going with yes.
I'm going with Billy Cobham.
You're all wrong.
Don't tell me it was Holdsworth.
No,
No?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Oh,
Oh,
It's
fuck.
so obvious. I mean, that was too obvious.
It
Wasn't
was
it?
so obvious. Yeah, we all got it right.
I mean, come on.
I
on
thought that was the
hate shows
first
and
thing I
everything.
thought of.
Same here,
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a second.
no, it's-
I know Allo told, because last night, I know Allo told me that he'd never seen Kansas, but I was like, didn't George also tell me that as well? And then I was thinking, nah, it couldn't have been both of them. But you did tell me, I think during Fall Fest, that you hadn't seen Kansas.
Maybe.
Damn it.
You do like them though, George, right?
Yeah. They
Okay.
were, by the time I was going to concerts, they were already a band I wasn't listening to anymore. And I tend to not go see the older bands after, they're not as good anymore. And the details of the show were all real, but I just didn't go.
I've second guessed myself. on
George didn't
both
have the
of them.
appropriate garb. He didn't have overalls to wear.
Easy. Come on, Ken.
All right, wow, we are striking out. All right,
Oh,
so
man.
let's move on to Ken then. All right, Stephen, what's your guess for Ken?
Bruford Miraz.
Chuck,
Grateful Dead.
George,
3.
Eric.
Fates warning.
I'm going to go with that Griffin show. I have a hard time believing a teenage Ken Golden is going to be going to England to see a band. He had no idea who they were. So I'm going to go Griffin.
It was Griffin. Was the fake. He got it right. Yeah, my parents kept me trapped like veal in the house. They wouldn't let me go anywhere. The idea of my parents sending me overseas, my mother had never been on a plane in her life. The idea of them sending me and my oldest sister off to London when I was like 17 years old. No way.
Yeah, I wasn't buying that story.
I bought a 10-speed. My mother wanted to put training wheels on it, No.
All right, we have our first breakthrough. Very cool.
Right.
All right, so let's move on to Eric's picks. Ken, what's your thoughts on this?
I say Genesis.
Chuck,
John LePonte.
Stephen,
Genesis.
George.
Opeth.
I went Opeth as well.
There's my Opeth ticket
Ah,
with Stephen Wilson.
you saw. Yeah, there you go. You saw the. Yeah. All right.
But apparently I'm the easy one because it was Genesis.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I figured you would have gone to that.
I debated.
Happy now.
So the clue for me, and maybe I'm wrong, Eric, was then weren't they playing stadiums on that tour?
They did play in Albany on that 2007 tour. They played whatever it was. It was the Knickerbocker Arena times Union.
I just figured they were playing bigger places, and you mentioned an arena. So.
There's my Pawnee ticket.
So who got that one right? Stephen and Ken.
Stephen and Ken, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So then we move on to Stephen's picks. Eric, why don't you start us off?
The only reason I picked this is because I have no idea who the band is. Kingfisher Sky.
They're one of my bands, bastard. I put out their first CD.
I've never heard of them.
George,
Mike and the Mechanics.
Chuck,
Mike and the Mechanics.
Ken.
Long distance calling.
I should know Stevens because we have done so many gig review shows over the last year and a half. I don't remember you ever talking about seeing Gaspacho, so that's my pick.
Okay. Well, keep the lie close because I was at the Fused Festival in Lydney, but I didn't attend day 3 and Kingfisher Sky headline day 3.
Got one.
Mike and the Mechanics, I may add, I went because I took my other half's dad. There you go. So I took one for the team. For
You were
Mike and the
forced on that one, right?
That doesn't quite pick Aloe's Kelly Clarkson from last night, but yeah.
No. Well, I could have had things like Ed Sheeran and various things. But the problem is I've spoken about them before with you, Pete. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Long distance calling seemed like the square peg in the round hole in that lineup. So
Yeah, and they headlined. That was a great night. 3 great bands, and it did kind of lead because SAG were like doomy and heavy. Soulstubber have that aspect, but they're a bit more progressive, and it led into long distance calling.
yeah.
And it was odd to have the instrumental band close as well, but it was fantastic. Really, really good.
All right, we're going to move on to Chuck now. Stephen, where did you guess?
I had Return to Forever.
Eric,
It's tough because New York, he would get all the shows. But I just went with Van der Graaf Generator.
George,
Return to Forever.
Ken.
Van de Graaff.
So I picked Genesis only because I do not remember them playing the Garden. I know they played Giant Stadium, which is where I saw them. So that's my guess.
All right. So all your final answers?
Yep.
That sadly, guys, you're all wrong, man. I've never seen Porcupine Tree before. Never seen them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Chuck, you did say Terminal 5 for that show, right?
Yes.
And I know I've seen them. They played there, correct?
They played
Yes, they
there.
did. They
Okay.
played there in
He's done
2009.
research.
I've never seen Porcupine Tree. I see Stephen Wilson 3 times, but I've never seen Porcupine Tree. Never seen them.
I
I'm
saw
excited.
them near Fest 01, and then I
Mhm.
saw them Fear of a Blank Planet.
Mhm. See what's that? A great band, man. I'm looking forward to someday being able to afford to see them sometime.
You can afford it, right?
So that
Time
yeah,
might
that's
be
why,
running out.
yeah.
Time might be running out.
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
All right, so we have a four-way tie for first place. So let's see if we can break that tie with Chad's. I have Chad's answer.
It's a great
so-
game.
Yeah. All right. So Ken, what do you think Chad's band was?
Saga.
Chuck,
Mastodon.
George,
Rick Wakeman.
Steven,
Dixie Dregs.
Eric.
Saga.
My pick was ELP, but I had something else and I crossed it out and picked ELP. I originally picked Opeth, and I just got his answer, and it was Opeth.
Oh,
No.
I figured he
Damn.
saw him with porcupine trees. So.
and I was gonna say Opeth because he talked about that on the show a couple weeks ago, how
Mhm.
he couldn't
Yeah.
stand them or couldn't stand the Cookie Monster vocals. Ah,
I got the
They
same. exact
toured with
list.
porcupine tree. I figured he saw him. You know, I was there in Philly. I figured he was probably there.
Oh well. So we have
Oh, man.
no real winner. We got a four-way tie between myself, Ken, Steven, and Eric.
Well, that's round one. Aren't we doing round two now?
Totally non-prog list, right?
I've got
So I'm
enough
wondering
written
how
down.
our viewers did down below, because Gary Joyce got 5 right last night.
Oh,
wow.
you did? Mhm.
Wow.
Got 5
Wow.
right last night.
I've got enough written down to do round two.
Yes. Oh, well, I have a few myself.
I like with my list. I thought you guys were going to say, "Who the fuck is David Arkenstone?"
Oh, I know who he is.
Mhm.
I didn't know who he was.
Oh, I didn't know who he is. Not a clue.
I didn't know who he was either.
New age guy.
Steven, you might actually like his music. It's
Yeah.
it's very symphonic, kind of new agey type of stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It was a weird show. Everybody, you know, a lot of costumes, and he had a big band on stage. Yeah, he was. I read an interview with him. He started out in a prog rock band,
Yes. Yeah.
and then he's quite successful. He's still around.
Yeah. What is he doing? I haven't heard anything from him in ages. Is he still putting out stuff? Or?
I think so. Yeah, I saw like the Wake of the Wind tour or something like that.
And he did
Beautiful
soundtracks as
theater.
well, right? Did soundtracks?
Yeah, he did a lot. The soundtrack work. I saw him. Yeah, the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey.
That's a nice
affluent.
venue. That's a nice venue.
It's a nice venue. It's an affluent area,
Yeah.
and I was living in Hoboken at the time, so it was like a 20-minute drive for me. It was, you know, so it was like, yeah, what the hell.
Yeah.
But that 3 show that I went to, that was really something. I saw 2 shows there. I saw that, and I saw Rick Wakeman there. And man, I'm telling you, these 2 guys came out with a boombox, and they didn't even open their mouths. People were just pelting them with shit. It was unbelievable. They ran for their lives.
That's bad. That's
That
bad.
was- and that Somnambulist thing, man, that was one of the craziest shows. Fred from Glass Hammer was in the lineup. Terry Klaus was there. I mean, most of the guys were there, and they didn't. I don't remember if it was between the first and the second albums or after the second album. Terry enlisted this guy named Brian King as the singer. A, he couldn't sing, and B, I think he was an alcoholic. The guy was on stage, he was hammered, and it was, and then people were heckling him, and he was heckling back. It was
Bad.
pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Someone needed to get the hook and get him off.
Oh my God. And I think that might have been like the only time Somnambulist played. Maybe they played down in Chattanooga or something like that, but that was
Crazy.
weird. Yeah.
You were kind of right, Chuck. You said I wouldn't go see Spock's Beard. I wouldn't have.
Mhm.
He opened for Dream Theater in 2000.
Okay.
They came
Oh,
twice. Once with the Dregs and once with Spock's Beard.
okay.
Box
So
are
you
always
got
good
this-
live. I've seen
No,
them.
they're awesome. They're one of my favorite bands live. Mhm.
Yeah, they're always
You
really
know,
good.
even after Morse, they were still as outstanding. But I just couldn't see George being a fan or even listening to that band. I don't think that's his style.
I hadn't heard them until that V album came out. And then my friend Jax was like, how can you have not heard these guys? Yeah. I'm like,
Mm. I don't think it would be your style. So Yeah,
Okay.
no, a lot of the bands that you guys had mentioned, like I said, I'd seen them. I got to see Return to Forever at the what's the United Theater,
That was 2008, not 7.
2008, thank you, 2008, and they were outstanding, man.
That was the tour with Ponte, right?
No,
that
Oh, that was
No,
with Viola, the first
that
one.
was like the
quartet.
reunion. That was like after
Right.
the 80 after the 83 reunion.
Gotcha.
Lenny had he had a torn rotator cuff. He was playing with a torn rotator cuff.
Mhm. But he still was pretty damn good on there.
What year was their last tour?
2011.
11? Because they
that
did
long ago?
Jazz
Wow.
Fest here, I think, in Saratoga that year.
Mhm.
I said at 2007, I saw him at the Mann Music Center. And I sat next to this guy, this big guy. He was like with the wide spread. So I was sitting like this, and I was like farting all night. It was terrible.
Oh
It was
man.
It was a terrible night. I couldn't wait to get out of there.
I don't know if you guys sensed the same thing, but there was like a definite chill between Demiola and Korea. They were on opposite sides and not a lot of interaction with those two.
But you know what? Al was on fire in Philly. He was on fire that night.
They
He was
played
on,
great.
I mean, for me, he stole the show. But,
Al's tremendous. He's tremendous.
The
George,
weirdest one on my list-
any words about that Holdsworth show? I mean, that's
They played great. They did a bunch of Lifetime songs, so that was cool. But I just never seen two guys so miserable. Not a single smile. They looked like they wanted to be anywhere else but there. The only showmanship was Jimmy Haslip. Jimmy Haslip,
He's awesome.
yeah, he's great.
Great bass player.
And Noddy and Holdsworth, they just look like, oh, why are we here?
did any of you guys go to see that Panzer Ballet show that I went to?
They didn't play here.
Yeah, it was NJ Proghouse. That was a good show.
You know,
The
Jason
the
Podcast,
weirdest one on my
I
list
think,
is-
and I'm wondering if Morgable was on that show as well. They might have been on that lineup as well. I don't remember. Yeah, it was good.
They would fit.
They might have been the headline. I don't remember, but I remember Consider the Source played. You know,
Yeah, they're Vermont, I think. They're close to me. They're up in Burlington and they play Saratoga. They were just here 2 weeks ago. They played Putnam Den in Saratoga. I think they have a 10 or 12 day tour they're doing, and they opened. It was a weird night though. It was like a Wednesday night or something. So I didn't end up going.
No, I hate when they have bands play that in the middle of the week, man.
And they had at least one opener, if not two. I'm like, they're not even going to start till 10:30.
probably.
old.
Yeah. If you
I'm an
got
old
work-
man. I got to get up 5:30 in the morning.
by the way, that story I said about the Dead was true. I saw them twice. The first time I saw them at the Philadelphia Civic Center, and they sucked. And I don't like the Dead, but my friends wanted me to go. And then they came around again. I think it might have been like the Nassau Coliseum, and my friends were begging me to go. They were all dead. As I said, you know, I always wanted to take shrooms. I've never had shrooms. You get me shrooms, I'll go. So I sat there in the parking lot eating shrooms, and I went to that show, man. It wasn't any better. It really wasn't, you know. It's just, it was like they were just like more people on stage. It was just, you know.
Even with the psychedelics, you couldn't get into it.
No, not in the least. It was just no. Didn't enjoy it.
Oh well.
I didn't enjoy
Not for
anything.
everybody.
I didn't enjoy the shrooms. I didn't enjoy the band.
Oh, okay. Well, a bad trip is not a good thing, no matter what kind of music you hear. Not gonna make it any better. Oh well. All right, everybody. There you have it. What did I say? Four-way tie, right? Four-way tie for first place. We didn't do very well tonight, so
I didn't do anything.
we got a couple zeros tonight, and that's all right. It was fun. That's all that really matters.
The funny thing is that I saw this game popping up on Facebook today. People were saying like, yeah, well, you know, which of these 6 shows didn't I go to? You know, which one didn't I go to?
Made the rounds a couple.
Yeah. We're jumping on the bandwagon. That's all.
No, did anybody feel confident about any of their picks, or you just kind of throwing shit at the
No.
wall?
None. No,
Not just me.
Nope.
The only one I really felt confident of was Ken's.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And the truth is that was a last minute switch. Originally, it was going to be Bebop Deluxe, who I've never seen, and I couldn't go because I had to go to my cousin's bar mitzvah, and but but I thought that I had mentioned at some point on one of the shows over the last year or so that I had not seen Bebop Deluxe.
Okay.
Saw Bill Nelson, but I never saw Bebop Deluxe. So that's why I switched it at the last minute. And I don't know, I pulled Griffin out of my ass.
But that was pretty good.
And then I was going to say Griffin in 74 when they toured with Yes. And I was going to say Madison Square Garden, but that wouldn't be believable because I made it a point of saying that I first started listening to all this shit in 1975 and I started seeing shows in 76. So that was too obvious to me. So then I said, Griffin, 77. I looked it up, Treason Tour. I saw they played at the Marquee Club. All right. So
No, you did a good job. You fooled them all but me, Ken.
yeah. Pull one out of the fire there, Pete.
There
I
you go.
purposely left off Prague Power Bands so you couldn't eliminate any of them because you know.
Yeah. There were some things I knew for sure.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching another episode of In the Prog Seat. Tune in next week. We'll be hopping back onto the letters of the alphabet. So we're going to rampage through those, finish up the year. We'll probably be jumbling a few of them together so we can hopefully finish up. I don't know if we're going to finish up by the end of the year. We'll see. We don't have that many weeks left in the year. And I know there's a couple of, we got holidays coming up and things like that. So we'll do our best. But anyway, thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together.
All
the
the
damn
time.
That's right. For Eric Porter, Stephen Reed, Chuck Alvarez, George Lemie, and Ken Golden, I am Pete Pardo and Chad Hutchinson as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week here on In the Prog Seat. Take care.